The worst thing about deception is that it not only hurts the person who's being deceived, it hurts the deceiver as well. All parties involved suffer because of deception. And that's sad because as God is our creator, He's also our provider and our sustainer as well. So there really is not a reason for deception. God doesn't have to take anything from one person in order to give something to someone else. It's not necessary for him to hurt somebody in order to help the next person. God is bigger than that. And as people of God, we should be bigger than that as well. The book of Proverbs says that the blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. When God blesses you with something, there's no strings attached. It's free and it's clear. You don't have to worry about someone taking it from you. You don't have to worry about someone being hurt because of what you have. That's how God works. That's who God is. That's what God does. What God has for me, it is for me, and no one can take what God has for me. And it's not necessary for me to try to take what God has for you. So, as members of the household of faith, there should not be any deception found among us. Once again, thank you so much for joining me for the Sanctuary Sunday School. I appreciate all of the feedback, and I noticed that some of you are watching both the Union Gospel Press lesson and the International Sunday School lesson, and I thank you for that. I actually enjoy teaching both. It's a little bit more work, but it is also a very enriching experience. So thank you for just keeping up with me. And also, you've been sending donations and words of encouragement. Thank you so much. It all helps a lot. Also, we are really close to the holiday season, and the Sanctuary Academy store is open. For those of you who may not know, I am a graphic designer, and I've been designing little goodies here and putting them in there. So everything that you see in that store is custom designed by me, and I am wearing one of the t-shirts from the Sanctuary Academy store. So again, thank you for everything that you do, and for most of all, meeting me here every week. This week's subject is Jacob's deception, and we can find this text in the 27th chapter of the book of Genesis. Now, we see here when we speak of Jacob's deception, this is Jacob deceiving his father Isaac. Now, last week we talked about when Jacob and his twin brother Esau, when they were born, and how there was a struggle between the boys in the mother's womb, and they grew up. And then what's a little bit disturbing is that the Bible says that they had favoritism within this family, where Isaac's favorite son was Esau, and Rebekah's favorite son was Jacob. So the boys kind of grew up and they grew apart. And we saw last week that Jacob had already tricked Esau into selling him his birthright. And so now here we are again. And Isaac was older and he was getting ready to die, and he was setting his affairs in order before he died. So he called his son Esau and he wanted to bless him. And he told him to go out and hunt and bring me some venison and prepare me a meal. Venison is any kind of wild game. And again, Esau was that hunter. So he would prepare the meal, and Isaac loved that, and Esau was his favorite. So he told him to go prepare me a meal and come back that I might bless you before I die. And so his wife, Rebecca, she overheard this. And Rebecca's favorite was Jacob, and she wanted this blessing for Jacob. So what she did was she went and got Jacob, and she told Jacob to put on some of Esau's clothing, and she affixed hair to Esau because to Jacob because Esau was hairy. So she went out and she had him wear Esau's clothes and put hair on him so that he would be hairy like he's Esau. And then Rebecca prepared the meat just the way that Isaac liked it. And so they came in to try to deceive Isaac. And you know, as a parent, sometimes you kind of know when something's is not quite right, even if your kid's trying to pull one over on you. So when he came in, he asked him, and Jacob called out to him, and he said, "Which one are you? Are you Esau or are you Jacob?" Because Isaac was blind and he could not see which one it was. So he told them that he was Esau. Jacob told Isaac that Jacob was Esau. And so he told him he was Esau, and he told him to come here and let him give him a kiss. And he felt his hands and he smelled him because to see if he felt and smelled like Esau. And he did, because he was wearing his clothing, so he smelled like him. And he had the hair on him, so he felt like him. And Isaac asked Jacob several times, "Are you Esau?" He wanted to make sure that he had the right son. And that kind of lets you know that he was a little skeptical, but he figured, he passed all of the tests. So he went ahead and he blessed Jacob. He gave Jacob the blessing that he intended to give to Esau. Now, this blessing, the blessing that Isaac gave to Jacob, thinking that he was giving it to Esau, it was interesting because he said that you're going to have wealth. He blessed him with wealth, and he also blessed him to be powerful. And he also said that he would have rule over his brethren. And then he blessed him with the same blessing of Abraham, that whosoever will bless you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will be cursed. This is interesting because in last week's lesson, God had already prophesied to Rebekah that Jacob would rule Esau. And then Isaac turned around and blessed Esau in a way where he would make Esau above Jacob. So when you look at what's going on with this family and with the favoritism and the things that they were doing, how the first lesson I learned is that no matter what you do, you cannot alter God's plan. So when God says something, the best thing for us to do is accept it and obey and not try to change it, because it's absolutely impossible. And when you try to change God's plan, you end up ultimately only hurting yourself. That is a self defeating plan, to try to change God's plan. So we see that right here. And he gave this blessing to Jacob instead of Esau. And I want to look at that last part of this blessing where it says, your people, right? And whoever curses you, they're going to be cursed. And whoever blesses you, you're going to be blessed. And I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at what's going on today. And just recently, we had this massacre in a synagogue where an American terrorist went inside and killed these Jewish people. And these are direct descendants of Jacob, who has this blessing on him. And I thought about that because I've been looking at the end time prophecies a lot. And we really have to be careful where we fall in that prophecy. And, it's an election year. I'm wearing my I voted button or sticker because I did vote. And it's very important that we are accountable for who we're putting in office and what they're allowing to happen in our countries, because these promises, these covenants, these blessings, and these curses that God established back then, they still stand today. Remember, Jesus, God is everlasting. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and forevermore. So it kind of doesn't matter what's going on in the world. And that's why we're studying this. It's not about us just studying this ancient story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No, when you speak of God's chosen people, okay, the Israelites are God's chosen people. When you speak of God's chosen people, it's not so much they're chosen to be his favorites. They're chosen to be an example so that we can watch them and study them and learn from them and see what God is going to allow and what God is not going to allow. Now, the word says that Jacob barely made it out of there before Esau came in, and he came in with the venison for his dad to eat so that he could be blessed. And Isaac told him, "Did you not just come in here and I blessed you?" And that's when they realized that it was another trick, that Jacob had tricked Isaac into thinking that he was Esau, and Jacob had Isaac's blessing. And one thing about blessings and curses is that they could not be reversed. There was no way that Isaac could take the blessing back from Jacob and give it to Esau. Jacob had the blessing, he was gone with it. And Esau was telling him, "But Father, you've got to have something for me. Give me something. Can I get a blessing?" And Esau was blessed, but Jacob got the blessing. So now Jacob has tricked Esau out of both his birthright and his father's blessing. And understandably so, Esau was furious, so furious until he sought to kill Jacob. And again, his mother, Rebecca, intervened and she said, Jacob, you've got to leave. She said, because you just go and stay somewhere until Esau's not mad anymore, until he forgets about it. So then that's when Jacob went and stayed with Rebecca's brother, Laban, and he went there. And it's just a really bad thing. So this deception, God had planned for Jacob to be blessed anyway. And so now the way that they did this, you put this animosity between these two brothers to the extent that one brother wanted to kill the other brother. And that's why, as people of God, we always want to trust God and obey God and allow God to do what He's going to do. It's never necessary for us to step in and intervene. All God told us to do is to obey Him. All He requires is that we love Him and that we trust Him. And if we can do that, deception is not necessary. God is bigger than that, He's more powerful than that, and God will supply all that you need and He will sustain you. He will take care of you. So we do not want to ever fall into the pit of deception.